Hello, viewers. I'm SB,
Hastings. I'm Amabel.
and welcome. What are you? What? And welcome back to
Has-
the thing. Oh, okay, I see. Welcome back to Amabel
Hastings.
Goes to Forex School, where this is. That's the name of that town. Famously,
That's
Friedrich Oblique founded the town of Hastinges in 1270 CE. That is a pretty recent settle. It's like very, very recent. So we're right at the end. I told you we'd come back in here for the very, very end of this age and the flip over. And we are, in fact, at 98% age progress. As you can see, I did hold the line militarily. It was not very difficult. It actually went well enough that I was considering. I tried to push up to Wak Kubnal because I was like, if we burn that down, like Scythian Neapolis can expand far enough to get this gold and stuff. I did find it unfortunately too difficult to take this city. Once I really started moving in on it, about 8 knights came out of the fog all at the same time, and I was like, well, that's gonna be a whole thing. She'll accept peace this turn. Fuck it, we'll just take it and say borders stay where they are. What I did not realize when I took the peace was that she actually had managed to take a settlement off of Augustus, so she did in the end come out ahead on that war. But the important thing is we didn't lose anything.
yeah.
So as you can kind of see from the mini map here, I wish there was more zoom out. I wish we could do the Endless Legend style, like zoom out to sort of a district type map. We have all the
Yeah,
all
but
the
they're not gonna
territory that
take
we
stuff from
had.
Amplitude Games.
No, of course not. It would be unconscionable. Can you imagine if they were to just lift things wholesale like that? We have all the territory that we had here. We have, of course, some other treasure cities. I converted a city state up here because it was right on top of a bunch of treasure resources. We have the city of Wilka Waman down here. It's getting us some more spices, some truffles, which increase production toward training military units, which is not what I would ordinarily connect truffles to immediately.
No.
And then on the other side of the continent, I found a cluster of sort of like chocolate and sugar and stuff. And I founded the little city of Barcelona. These useless islands that we explored, and I was like, why would you even care about these? It turns out all of the AI factions cared about them a ton, and I started realizing there was going to be this big border wall that we were going to have to sail the treasure fleets around if I didn't do something. So I did manage to catch one of the middle areas, and so the fleets from Cusco can sail down and through this area over to Ostia to unload. And
Okay.
boy, have they. First of all, here we are at 30 plus
Okay.
treasure points. In fact, it's probably closer to 50. If we look at the this view here, you can see we have 2 points of treasure fleets launching every 8 turns from Machu Picchu, 4 points of treasure fleet launching every 8 turns from Cuzco, 3 points from Kilwa, and then the newest city isn't even all the way hooked up, but yeah, Wilka Waman would have also been producing with a few more turns. I just settled that very recently. We're at 12 settlements in total here. We also, as you have already seen, hit Toshakana because it is absolutely trivial to convert a handful of cities on the distant lands continent. One part of it that is really critical is you don't have to hold them. You just have to have converted. You just convert them once, you get the relic, and then you can let them flip back or whatever. So, in fact, I think we ended up with 13 relics, and I only have 12 places to put them. But the important thing is we're good. We're done. We got it. Military, you kind of get there on that first point just by accident. Yeah. I will say that on the science front, I'm at 0. I have actually found it quite difficult. So I'm playing the solo game I'm playing on the channel. I'm playing this era as the Abbasid Empire, and the Abbasid have a special quarter made of their 2 special buildings that has all these extra adjacency bonuses. And with them, I'm having not only no problem hitting 40, I've hit 40 in more than 5 tiles already, and I'm nowhere near the end. With this setup, I have actually found it very difficult. I think there's one tile that's pretty close. I turned on yields so that you could see this more easily.
Yeah.
There's one tile that's pretty close in the capital. Yeah, where I built an observatory next to a kiln. We have 34 science / culture, and then some happiness. And actually, I guess that production is on this tile. So this tile should be producing 40. Huh, we should have one. Well, whatever. We'll buy something to improve the adjacency or something if we have to. We can definitely get at least 1 point on that. But if we look around the rest of our developed stuff here, you can see it's actually like it's very challenging to get the number that high if you don't have something like a special district pushing it. I have a lot of like sort of mid-20s in the capital here and in the more populous cities.
Okay.
So yeah,
So
that the science thing is a little bit more challenging, and I do appreciate that.
Yeah. So two things I wanna remark on.
Mm-hmm.
First, I just want to admire if when you have a chance, if you can.
We are here
zoom
on
out
the
as
tech
much as
tree,
you
not
can.
quite to the end. I'm researching this mastery for +1 culture on culture buildings because it'll give us another point of resources toward hitting our districts up to 40, right? And then
Yeah. So first of all,
hold on.
Okay.
Here's where we're at on our culture trees. Kind of doing fine. Whatever. I didn't bother to spend any time improving our religion because who cares? Okay, sorry. What's up?
Yeah. So first of all, if we can, I just want to admire the famous continental Hawaiian Empire of Harriet Tubman.
Yeah.
The idea of
It's-
Hawaii being a continental power is just.
I
instead
think you
of
I think you
an
misspoke.
island.
I think you misspoke. It's Sid Meier. I mean, what is it? What is your actual complaint there? Like, what would you do on an island that is? What would you do on a map that isn't mostly islands?
I wouldn't have a nation that is like fundamentally. I mean, first of all, I wouldn't do
Wow, her
the fake
whole
history
territory
shit.
is just this. It's just this
You know.
improvement over and over again. That's wild.
But because
Whoa.
like because
Okay,
here's the thing, like the other thing I want to talk about is the truffles thing,
Okay.
and you're like, yeah, it makes no sense, but you know what? Like, I understand the argument of, well, it doesn't relate to the history. It's just a mechanical thing. But then you just
Right.
don't
Right
call
now
it
we
a
are.
history thing.
Right now we are allied with Augustus, which is letting our treasure fleets
Okay.
through here a little faster.
Okay. But like, don't make it the history thing. Don't call it truffles. Like,
Okay.
the
Your advice.
endless game.
Your advice for civilization cannot be don't be civilization. You recognize that, right?
I don't know. I think.
The new
I mean, my
menagerie
advice-
has. Hold on.
Okay.
The new
Well,
menagerie has many
challenge
wonderful
me.
creatures on display, and a visiting scholar is inspired to begin work on an illustrated bestiary. Such a catalog will surely draw more visitors to the menagerie, but some wonder if there are really enough animals to fill an entire manuscript. Who could imagine such a thing? I don't even know what. I assume the menagerie is a kind of building that I've recently researched. I don't know. Give me 600 gold. The talk of the capital is a new illustrated bestiary cataloging every menagerie animal, offering up juicy and obscure facts that draw more traffic to local attractions. This boom in enthusiasm around an academic work has great potential. So I guess give me more. Hold on. Is the science thing I'm researching, is that the thing that's giving us the bonus culture on culture buildings? Yeah, okay. I guess give me the big chunk of science then. We get that done next turn.
Yeah.
Scholars toss pieces of driftwood into the sea along the coastline and watch for their return. As the wood reappears or vanishes, these observers determine new systems of currents that will help travelers navigate the blue abyss. The palace now has +2 science for some reason. Okay, I don't know what caused that. There was an absolute flurry there of narrative events, but okay, go ahead.
Oh, I mean, I understand it's not fair to say like your advice to improve civilization is don't be civilization, but like my advice to like improve Call of Duty games is not to make Call of Duty games. So I feel like
But
I,
no, that's not advice to improve Call of Duty games. That's advice to not make Call of Duty games.
it's advice to improve the world.
Yeah, and I'd like to be clear, I don't disagree with you, but I don't know that that's a useful thing to say. It's certainly not a valuable thing for anyone who is still listening to this to say because
Yeah,
they've heard it.
they've heard it. Yeah, I know. I'm sorry. I'm gonna keep. The thing is,
The thing is, you
I
don't
think
sound sorry. I just don't believe that.
the thing is, I care so deeply about games modeling and making arguments about history,
Yeah,
games creating meaning and the potential of games. Like, it is my whole work for like
yeah.
my 15-year career and the book I just wrote and the video as like
The
I
purpose
care
of
about this
construction
and
is to make
this
things hold together.
sure and this just hurts me so much. I can't let it go because like it's
Volcano went off. Damage was light. Whatever. Nobody cares. So it is a meaningless volcano explosion. Okay, so assigning another specialist to this district will certainly push it over. It should have been over already. My guess is there's probably a rounding error somewhere there. One of those values was like instead of 17, it was 16.8 or something, and so it was rounding it up to 17 in the display, but not treating it as 17 in the math. But now we are definitely over, and we have earned 1 scientific legacy point. Hooray!
okay.
We did it, Amabel. We did it.
Yeah.
This city over here is still growing. We have, like I said, we have a lot of towns that were very recently placed, and so are still are very much still growing. I can't imagine we're going to finish another technology. Well, I guess actually, we have probably like 3 or 4 turns left. So there are for sure technologies we could finish in that time. I don't know if any of them matter at all. I guess plus happiness on happiness buildings could help push a tile up. It seems very unlikely to me that we would get a second tile over 40, and actually getting a second tile over 40 wouldn't even do anything. We would need 2 more tiles over 40. I suppose the last thing we could be doing with our gold is converting our settlements to our religion. I could buy a bunch of missionaries because they count double, right? So we could push ourselves past the second point here probably if I just buy us some missionaries. And this is a change from Civ 6, and I think it should work the way it worked in Civ 6, frankly. In Civ 6, a city produced missionaries of that city's religion.
Right.
In
Yeah, I remember that.
Civ 7, cities produce missionaries of the owning players' founded religion, no matter what religion the city itself is. So you can always just purchase a missionary in your city and convert your city at any time. It's just then, somebody comes along and converts it right the fuck back. And it's all very whatever. My engagement with the religious system has been has been so far that is just, get yourself a bonus. Get yourself a bonus of some kind for converting stuff, and then don't worry what it ends up remaining, because it will never matter. We only care about the settlements that are not on the main continent. So yeah, we'll convert a bunch of these back. Try to do this right here at the end and see if we can earn ourselves some more points. But But yeah, the AI is able to purchase such a huge fleet of missionaries that there's no chance you could ever keep your stuff, your religion, and because there are no actual mechanics related to the religion stuff, because it's just this very, very simplified thing. There's no way to like interact with it in any meaningful way. It's just watching the cities flip back and forth until you are tired of buying missionaries. There's nothing here that's going to finish or be particularly relevant. I don't know. Start building an armorer.
Yeah.
Whatever. We're giving final orders here. Hey, look, a menagerie. But what if you started building an armorer? I'm gonna displace this woodcutter.
How does that feel? How does that feel for you? You know, knowing that your last things in an age are not as relevant. Like how?
I mean,
how
mostly
does
I just
that-
wish they wouldn't ask. You know. The problem is then
Yeah.
they would have to design a system that's smart enough to know whether they should ask or not, and you cannot trust the people who designed a lot of these other systems to do that. Without, I don't want to say that as mean as I said it, but it is the case. Like, if they were capable of designing systems that were smart enough to be able to determine when things don't matter anymore, then like all the endgame problems
and the title go together.
all the problems of the infinite endgame and whatever wouldn't have been problems because they could have just figured out when to have the game go, okay, you did it, you won.
Yeah.
All right, so that's cities, giant crab time. The age of
I have a
exploration is
question to
ending.
ask.
The ashes have cooled and a new hold that question. Also, stop having questions every time you see a block of text appear on the screen. Do it at other times.
Sorry, my brain is bad.
The ashes have cooled, and a new order has taken shape, one that claims to be the realization of natural law. Empires had long been defined via the claims of noble families and the contours of religious faith, but these have given way to those based on an imagined community of folk and the harsh realities of commerce. Realities should maybe be in quotation marks there. The revolution has not happened in the same way everywhere. In some places, a new rationalized monarchy emerges. Again, probably rationalized in quotation marks. But one based around a revolutionary idea that an individual is the embodiment of a people, not its owner. In other places, the people advocate for their own representation in some kind of deliberative body. In still others, a demagogue has awoken the desire for freedom and chained it to a personal quest for power. The world is born anew, and for the first time, claims to be the full and complete realization of what it should be. Yeah, is that a thing that had never happened before? Is that a thing that no Roman ever did? It seems
No,
difficult to me to imagine that. I know, sweetie. All right, we're just gonna press some buttons here to get this stuff off my screen. I don't know, build whatever. None of it's real anymore. Oh, a treasure fleet, cool. Go. Okay, so we got to remember we got in order to convert a city. If the city has no religion, you can just convert any of its tiles and it becomes your religion. If a city has an existing religion, you have to spend 2 convert charges, one on one of its urban tiles and one on one of its rural tiles. And that is described as converting the urban population and then converting the religious population, or the rural population. And the thing did work there. As I said, we have now got the second charge of that. Is this not? Huh. Didn't I convert? That's a camp, so shouldn't that be rural? That's weird. I don't actually have
That is
anything built
weird.
there. Where is a place that I actually have anything built? Because the camp is absolutely a rural tile, and then this should be an urban tile. The quarry. Oh no, the problem is that this city is it didn't need a second charge, right? It had no religion, so I converted it on the first swing. That's what the problem was there. And then this one's not going to get converted because getting in the water spent all my movement. But yeah, we did reach our second point, and so we unlocked a new legacy option as well as another point to spend.
Okay.
Okay, let's do the thing. When I press this button, I believe it should end the era. Now, one thing I just thought of, and maybe I should have... Maybe I was wrong. Maybe we have one more turn? We got that dialogue box that was like, everything's coming to an end, but I guess it was a lie. Well, whatever. We'll convert this city. There is the Dark Age reward, right? The Dark Age legacy. If you don't get any points on a path, and we did almost have it on the science path. What would that have done for us? Flight is unlocked with combustion, but 50% cost increase to all airplanes. Okay, that's interesting. That's a weird balance. 2 free levels on all commanders. New commanders start with 2 additional levels, but all military units cost more. Some of these are kind of neat, I guess. Ooh, minus 25% culture hurts. Okay, yeah, those are kind of interesting. It does feel to me like you do always just want to make sure you're actually getting real improvements instead if you can. Sure, overwrite the amphitheater, whatever. Why are you still asking me for build instructions on the final turn? The thing is over. No, I'm not specializing a town now. Just end it. Skip. Also, one thing that's really annoying is in most 4X games, you have this language has become very common, where there's a thing in the lower right, and it's like the stuff that you still have available to do that turn. In most games, you can right-click on an element to disable it, to be like, I'm not going to deal with that, skip this one. You cannot do that in Civ 7, despite the fact that it is available as behavior in the previous Civ games, in addition to, most of the rest of the genre.
So this brings me to the question I was going to ask you, which
Okay.
There's no text on the screen at the moment, no box, so I'm safe to ask.
Yep, good
Damn
job.
it!
Good job. Way to talk until that wasn't true anymore.
I'm trying my best.
The mountains whispered of the unseen power of Inca relics, and the world listened.
It is kind of funny for it to be relic focused. Like you were not around for most of the gameplay of this, but it was like 85% of my effort was toward treasure fleet stuff. And then once the treasure fleets were in position, I spent 5 turns buying a bunch of missionaries and then running them around to create all the relics. Like the relic thing was such a tertiary part of the plot of what happened there. It's funny that the game zeroes in on it just because it's first in the left to right, the left to right assignment of the legacy branches. Let's look at the age rankings. Look, I did 39 points of treasure fleet. Is it seriously the case that all other players combined had 1? Harriet Tubman had 20 relics. Not just 20 that she had, but 20 that were on display, which is wild. I don't know how you get that many slots. I guess there are wonders that have slots, I think. And we actually led people in blue and red, even though we did such a terrible job in blue. It's possible that the AI is still not good at the game, Amabel. I think that might be the thing that we're learning. Turns out you cannot give them enough raw resource input to make them any good at anything.
Well, at least you got some FXP and LXP.
Love that LXP. Can't wait to bust out my level 8 shiny Niccolo Machiavelli on the playground. All right, you had a question. Are you going to ask it or not?
Yeah. So my question was, so you say my comments aren't helpful as far as like how would you address this stuff in Civ, but like how would you? What would be your helpful advice?
I mean, I think there's hours and hours of me talking about this on the on the channel already. Like I think they're going in the right direction with the mechanics in a lot of ways. I think Civ 6 for my money is maybe the current apex of the thing, but obviously Civ 7 isn't out all the way yet, in the sense that, you know, everybody says that Civ games feel a little incomplete until they have those expansions and whatnot. Because that's the thing they're really thinking of as a Civ game, right? Is after it has been iterated on for a couple of years. And, but they have to stop leaning harder and harder. Like, they have to, at the very least, back off to the level of history as a sort of a distant nod that they were doing in like Civ 1 or 2. And I don't mean the same level of like cultural insensitivity, but like the more they try to like lean in on the prestige and viewpoint stuff, the more ridiculous they're making themselves look, and the more it's butting against their attempts to improve the mechanics, because you can't improve the mechanics for the thing they're trying to do. The game they're trying to build is an impossibility, right?
Yeah.
Like the thing they're trying to build is would collapse into itself like a neutron star if you ever managed to make it. All right, so we can become America for some reason. Okay, just Rome can become America.
I
Don't. Nope.
it's
don't
dumb,
care.
but I kind of okay.
I'm sorry. Yeah. So like there's that. I think that's the only reason we could play as America. France also could be, you know, geographic choice.
Geographic choice.
Europe, whatever. It's all the same shit. Who cares? We can be Mexico because we played as the Inca in the second era. We can be Prussia because we played as Rome. And we can be Russia because I founded enough cities on tundra tiles. I remember when this one unlocked. So those are our options here. Let's see what they actually do. America is economic and expansionist. I mean, ain't that the truth? The fact that the game sort of, it seems to be very like, look, production, and I don't think that's wrong necessarily, but the fact that the game seems to overlook that like the core American project is this like blanket of unreality that it can pull over first its own eyes and then the eyes of the rest of the world is a little strange. I guess it's not really ready to confront ideas on that level, but like America's number one meaningful export has been like the thing that America spends most of its effort on has been culture, and has been culture for a very long time, I would say. Okay, so yeah, American Unique Infantry Unit, American Unique Civilian Unit that claims a land resource outside of your regular settlement radius. That's kind of powerful. We have a unique quarter here. Put a rail yard and a steel mill in the same district for +2 food in this city for every resource assigned to it. And also, that district is going to have a production output of like 500. So that's something. Seems generically powerful. It turns out production is always very, very good. Bonus production towards Statue of Liberty, of course. The French, you can select the celebration effects of any of the governments when you celebrate. Who cares? That seems like such a weird bonus. We have +2 strength when within a friendly army commander's radius, but more expensive to train. It's an infantry unit that can make a ranged attack. That's interesting. A great person with 1 charge, the Jacobin?
The Jacobins.
So this, like, I hate this. It's a great person with only 1 charge, can only be trained in cities with an avenue. The specific Jacobin received is random. Each one can only be received once. It doesn't tell you a goddamn thing about what they do. So each one of these is gonna have a unique special ability, and we have no idea until we actually build them what kinds of stuff they even might do. I assume it will be related to happiness, given the focus of the other stuff mechanically here.
I mean, jackbins generally, historically are good at chopping up people's heads. So I feel like,
Yeah, but
I
some people were really happy about all the chopping.
that's
You
true.
can't argue about that. So we have the Avenue, which is
just-
a French imperial unique quarter. You create a jardin à la française and a salon in the same district, which will mean a lot of culture and happiness and bonus happiness. If you love celebration being on 100% of the time, this is the empire for you. We have here cultural, diplomatic. We start with a unique government, revolution, 100% because that word is well known, not because revolution necessarily, like, I would argue revolution ties in the sort of general Civ player's consciousness more to the French, but whatever.
Well, yeah, because the French Revolution was like it shouldn't be the French Empire; it should be the French Republic.
Yeah,
Those are separate.
yeah,
And
hey,
like the Jack. I continue. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
don't get angry. Far away from your mic and also facing away from it.
You're right.
You
Don't
can
get
you-
angry.
Can you lean in a little bit?
My blood pressure.
I
My
know.
poor blood pressure.
Okay. So this government has one celebration effect plus 30% culture. Cannot ever have a different government type. That's kind of the opposite of revolution, but all right. And a unique infantry unit that helps other units heal. So you get a ball of these guys together, and they're just gonna like keep each other going. A great person with one charge, the Revolucionario, who cannot, under any circumstances, change the function of your government. They do something. What is it? Great question. Who knows? Zocalo is a unique quarter made of a cathedral and a portal de mercaderes, which is culture and culture and culture. Okay, lots of culture. A government that doesn't make any sense. Prussia has combat strength for every unfriendly or worse civ relationship. A unique cavalry unit that has bonus movement and bonus combat strength for all the movement it has remaining, which is kind of neat. And then they have a unique plane that's good against land units. And a unique railroad replacement. +2 gold in production on rural tiles that has one of these. That doesn't seem great. And it kind of seems like they just have a lot less stuff than the others. That's weird.
Yeah.
And then Russia, which is like Prussia in a lot of ways. 6 out of the 7 ways, I would argue. 1 culture on districts, 1 science on districts if the city's in a tundra. 30% production towards constructing the Hermitage, which I'm sure will be a culture-focused relic. Again, mouse overs. It's just like table stakes at this point. Bonus combat strength in friendly territory for their unique units, so very defensive fighters. A Russian unique siege unit that has +1 movement, lower base combat strength, but deals damage to enemy units adjacent to the target. So that's something, I guess. And then a unique improvement that gets food from adjacent farms and bonus culture in tundras. You really get a lot of benefit out of being in tundra. And the fact is, very, very little of our stuff is. We would not get a lot of play out of this. On the whole, I do think that this still seems fairly powerful, but I don't know. Do you have any strong feelings about those? And then there's a bunch. We can't beat Buganda or Meiji Japan or the Mughal or the King or Siam this time. Didn't do enough stuff. I thought I unlocked Siam. Because the thing you do to unlock Siam is to have 4 temples. At least 4 temples. And I definitely, as you all saw, had way more than 4 temples, but maybe not. Whatever, it doesn't matter.
I do want to say my only thing is that I did appreciate your joke about Russia having 6 of the things of Russia.
Thank you.
You know, just so we have an entertaining so we want an entertaining product here, right?
Ideally.
This video.
Yeah.
Okay. So is it more entertaining for me to be quiet or for me to be angry. What is better
It's really up to you.
for you? Okay, because if you pick the French Empire, I'm gonna go off when the Jacobins show up because it's like,
Do you want to see what they do? Do you want to pick it so we can see what they do?
yeah,
All right.
I want to see what they do, and I want to.
Liberté, égalité, fraternité.
I have
Here we go.
so much thoughts already.
So much thoughts. So I have no idea
Because
what the
France sets out upon an incomplete world, a blank canvas waiting to be marked.
we just did the exploration age, you know? So I have no idea what the culture paths, what the legacy paths or the gameplay for this era are yet. I have not peeked over this barrier. The gameplay with our unique district here is going to be very similar. It's very similar to what we're doing already. Just make sure we can build these 2 buildings together in every city. That's easy enough to keep track of. We have what seems like it must be a pretty good infantry unit. They're more expensive to train, but an infantry unit that has bonus combat strength when you have commanders around, which is a thing you should always be doing anyway, and then also has a gun and knows how to use it. Seems like a winner at the very least at the beginning of the era. And so this is the part where we are going to be able to see how a game is actually won. At the end of the legacy paths here, my understanding is each legacy path has at its end an unlock for a thing that you do that wins the game.
Okay. Now you haven't seen this yet in your solo play, or
Right. Yeah.
okay.
I think in my solo game, I think I'm like 60% of the way through the Age of Exploration at this point.
Okay. So the thing about the Jacobins is it's a very complicated thing because they certainly were at the forefront of a lot of we think of.
The moment you started talking, it was like, nope, I'm done loading. Here's some text.
Yep.
Go ahead.
A lot of the ideas coming out of the French Revolution are inherently ideas coming from radical left-wing factions like the Jacobins. But also there was the Reign of Terror, which was not just the guillotines, but also terrible mass ethnic cleansing in the Vendée region, and so that's a thing where if you're going to model, here I get on my high horse again, but if you're going to model the history, engage with the history, make an argument about the history.
Spoilers. They're not going to model anything.
No. Then I think you can touch that.
Okay.
Otherwise, it feels like deeply irresponsible. It's like having a special unit. It's like Germany having a special unit that's for genocide.
Yeah.
And in this fundamentally silly game, why the fuck would you do that?
So, here's our 4 legacy paths. I can't answer that question. I'm letting that float to the viewers. Here's our 4 legacy paths. To get up the economic one, you must become a railroad tycoon. Gain 500 railroad tycoon points from manufacturing goods in your factories. These points are earned each turn for each factory resource that is slotted into a settlement with a factory and connected to your rail or port network. When you complete this path, it will unlock the World Bank victory condition, which we don't necessarily get to see the text of. Here we go. Clicking on that did something, which is a surprise. Okay, complete the Modern Economic Legacy path, which will grant them the Great Banker in their capital. Once a player has gained the Great Banker, they must use its Establish World Bank office action in the capital cities of each other player. The Establish World Bank office action costs both gold and influence each time it is used, scaled by relationship. Economic legacy points earned across all ages will reduce the cost of the action, and we did max out on those in the previous 2 eras.
Okay.
A player who establishes a World Bank office in every capital immediately wins an economic victory. They explained it. I'm actually overjoyed. I'm overjoyed to know how that works.
Okay.
So it'd be better if we were friendlier with people. There are a lot of people who do not care for my ass, but
Now, can we see the other?
that's one thing.
Okay.
The military gain 20 ideology points. I heard your whole skeleton curl. Gain 20 ideology points from conquering settlements for the first time. You will gain 1 point before you have an ideology, 2 points with an ideology, or 3 points against an opponent who has a different ideology. And once you have gained enough ideology points, that unlocks Operation Ivy.
Wait.
Okay, so first, the modern military legacy path must be completed, which will unlock the Manhattan Project wonder to build in a city. Once the player has built the Manhattan Project, they will be able to conduct an Operation Ivy project in one of their cities. A player who completes the Operation Ivy project will immediately win a military victory. Military legacy points earned across all ages will increase production toward building the Manhattan Project and Operation Ivy. I mean, they make you build the bomb, but they don't want to show it being used. I think the instinct to not want to make you bombs, not make you want to nuke somebody to win the game is good. But I think if you're following that instinct, you can't. The victory condition can't be build the nuke, like.
Can't we build the nuke and military?
Yeah, conquer a bunch of cities and build the nuke, but then pretend like you won't use it. Just, it's like, but now you have a deterrent, right? It's establish the idea of your ideology and the bomb as a deterrent. That one's pretty fucked. I do not like that, I have to say.
No, I'm not a fan of that. Also, I'm not a fan of the way the screen keeps pushing you out.
I keep right-clicking. It's my hand. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay.
That's me.
Well, no, I'm sorry, sweetheart.
I gotta hold the mouse differently. Yeah, my stuff is really acting up today. I apologize.
You don't need to apologize for that, sweetheart. But right-clicking shouldn't close the thing when there's a big X button.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, the fact that right-click is back in the menus is completely insane. That's some real nobody ever tested it shit. Okay, the space race. Complete all 3 space race projects. My guess is this one's going to be basically unchanged from previous civs. So research flight. Yeah, then they're going to give you some projects. It looks like so my understanding is that the end date for this game is a lot earlier than the end date for previous games, right? Like the Civ 5 and Civ 6 end in the near sci-fi future.
Okay.
Right? So in the final era, you start to get into some science fiction technology toward the end, and they have stuff like the giant death robot and the XCOM squads and and stuff. And so your final science projects are things like a colonizing mission to Mars, things that are in the future from our point of view now. This game is aiming its endpoint earlier, so you can see first staffed space flight is the victory condition, and so they pulled back the projects leading up to it to be things like transoceanic flight, as opposed to like in Civ 6, the 3 projects were like moon landing, and I don't remember what the moon landing and like go to Mars and stuff. They were things that were a little bit more more future-y. Break the sound barrier, and then eventually launch satellites, and then that unlocks the first staffed spaceflight project. A player who completes that project will immediately win. Yes, entirely internal. Science legacy points earned across all ages will increase production toward the thing. Okay. So it is keeping track of your scoreboard position through every age a little bit for reasons.
Yeah.
Okay, and the geographic one is to house 15 artifacts in your empire. So, you study natural history, establish a geographic society, and then knowledge of natural history will let you train an explorer who is capable of researching and excavating artifacts. It's weird to call that person an explorer, given that we just had the Age of Exploration, and obviously in Civ 6, this unit's called an archaeologist, right?
Yeah.
which I think makes more sense and tells you more about what they're doing in the world. You train your explorer, research artifact locations at any university or museum. Ruins on the continent will be revealed from their investigation. So you got to have universities or museums. I mean, we do have universities. Once you've identified ruins of the exploration age, your explorer goes to the site and excavates artifacts over several turns to resurface a great work. Then you put them on display. Study hegemony and display 5 artifacts. You got to have the hegemony. The hegemony is a non-optional part of it because that's how it happened in the real world. So, okay. And once you got all your artifacts, once you have 15 artifacts housed, you unlock the World's Fair victory condition. The World's Fair Wonder, to be built in any city. A player who completes the World's Fair Wonder will immediately win a cultural victory. So it's interesting how some of these are the different degrees of internality.
Yeah.
You know, this one, like you're building the final thing inside, completely inside, and has nothing to do with anybody else. But your explorers, I assume, will probably have to go outside of your own territory at least a little bit. We're seeing some new wonders and stuff here, and not new wonders, new resources. We have some coal.
Yeah. So where do you
and
feel?
we need to pick our legacies. The modern age has begun, Amabel. 1750. Okay. Welcome to modernity.
Yeah, I mean, I mean that kind of.
So, like, this is an interesting thing, right? Like, you have a lot of feel bads from this game, places where it rankles up against your historical knowledge, because you have a lot of historical knowledge. Most people don't. Most people would tell you that they have more than they actually have, but most people don't, right? But the places where they're getting most of that same kind of rankling is in the part of the game like that we might actually refer to as modernity, right? Like post World War II, like you're starting to use words that the player knows. And when you say, oh, fascism is a system that produces extra hammers, a lot of people in the audience are going, well, I don't know about that. I have feelings about that word, and those feelings are not necessarily hammer-based, although I guess depending on how much you're into Pink Floyd's The Wall, you know. So I think you can definitely see how, like, peeling it back and ending the game, like, at 1940-ish, somewhere 1940, 1950, lets them just kind of dodge that problem. They no longer have to fix the history rankling. They just do it in a place where most people aren't gonna be able to tell.
Yeah.
Do it in the fog where most people will accept your like historicity without. I'm not saying for sure that I think that's what they're doing, but it sure seems like it could be what they're doing. All right. Anyway, so let's talk about our legacy points here. We get to take a golden age because we did finish at least one branch. So do we want the Toshakana Golden Age, which retains interfaith dialogue? Don't know what that does. This is not mouse overable. And gives you +4 science for every foreign settlement following your religion. Pretty whack. I did note that there was no mention made of religion during any of the mechanics here.
Yeah, because they just turned it into science or culture.
I guess so. Or the Treasure Fleet Golden Age, where all of your cities from the previous age remain cities. In addition, cities in distant lands gain 2 population. I mean, that seems pretty good. Can we, let me view the map here. So what's the deal with our religious spread? I mean, like, our cities that are on the other continent are mostly our religion because we flipped them right at the end of the thing, right? And there's a handful of, like, you can see the places that I converted latest for relics that are still converted. So I am noticing, like, in Cusco's list here, I don't see missionaries or anything. One thing I'm wondering is if it is possible for religions to change anymore, or if they're all locked in. Because if they're all locked in, then we can calculate an actual hard value for that +4 science for every settlement every foreign settlement following your religion thing, right?
Yeah.
So we have a band of 4 of them right here, and I think that's probably going to be all of them. I never converted any of the ones on the home territory because what would be the point? It didn't award
Yeah.
stuff. So yeah, 4. And interfaith dialogue. I did want to also look that up in the Civilopedia. What is interfaith dialogue? Doesn't say. Cool. Is it a... I want to say I think it's a social policy. Although it's not visible unless you've actually picked that thing already. Yeah, shoot. I don't remember it. And it's no longer going to be visible from here, I don't think. Yeah, shoot. Well... So I don't know what the value of interfaith dialogue is.
Okay, interfaith dialogue. It just adds +4 science, is what it's telling me.
Oh, is this the text of interfaith dialogue
that's
here?
What it is.
Okay,
Yeah.
so this should be a colon because right now what this says is retain
Yeah.
interfaith dialogue and also get this effect. All right, so that's
Yeah.
so this is 16 science per turn for 2 of our points. It does feel to me like the treasure fleet is the golden age we should pick. Then,
Yeah.
all right.
It feels like the economic victory is the one that you're aiming towards.
Well, I don't know, but it's just like this is 16 science per turn, and this is not. Like that's such a small bonus at this point in the game. Land of Opportunity seems good. +10 production is always going to be meaningful. And then a militaristic attribute point, or probably an expansionist attribute point, right?
Okay.
With our culture points, we can pick up bonus culture per turn per relic in the previous age. We did have 14 relics at the end. But 28 culture per turn is still kind of not a huge amount. Am I allowed to take multiple points of... Yeah, okay, so we can just take 3 total attribute points instead of taking deep roots and something. This is like 1 extra city worth of culture, basically.
Okay.
I don't know if I think that's going to be better. Because, like, the thing is, the attribute point bonuses are not necessarily huge either. Although, in theory, we're getting to the best ones now, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, if we want to look at these, diplomatic and cultural. What do diplomatic and cultural attribute points give us right now? I guess we're already on culture. So this would... We have most of the tree unlocked. We could get 5% total culture. +1 culture from every specialist. At this point, that would probably be quite a few because I was definitely like stacking specialists to try to hit the 40 resource output limit. So this is probably quite a few, but it's probably not 28. It might be 14 though, for it to just be 1 point. +10% culture in cities that have at least 1 wonder. That's a fair number of our cities at this point. We have a few because I did get to build a couple of wonders during the thing. And then just 5% total repeatable culture. We actually have 0 diplomatic points right now. So these are pretty small bonuses that eventually can unlock the military sabotage espionage action +3% toward all yields for every alliance you have. That's interesting if you can get your relationships with people working. But these are like very small bonuses, these diplomatic points. My inclination would be maybe even... Well, if we took 3, so we could get 3 rows deep. We can't take a legend to unlock, remember? So we could open up an extra policy slot. That would mean that with our wild card point, we could unlock... Like, we could actually maybe get down to military sabotage, which is something, presumably. Not in the Civilopedia. But it might be an interesting thing to pursue. Like, what if we just take all 3? Because we're doing really well on culture anyway, right?
Yeah.
So what if it is 3 diplomatic attribute points and we try to like reshape things a little bit? Oh, I'm not allowed to take it 3 times actually.
Oh, well then.
That's weird. Is it displaying that I've taken a second one anywhere here? if I click this off, it does, like I can click this and it spends a second point, but it doesn't really show that a second point's committed. All right, well, I guess we have to take 2 and 1, and we're not allowed to do more than 2 of a single. Okay. There's only one thing we can spend the remaining economic point on, only one thing we can spend the science one on. And we can move the capital, but I like our capital. Okay, so let's cash in these points. First of all, cultural, just plus 5% total culture is like fine. I think plus 1 culture from specialists is probably going to be good, and it's only going to get better over the course of the age.
Okay.
I think influence is a more valuable resource than happiness, broadly speaking. Plus 50% influence towards initiating and progressing the befriend independent action. See, the thing is, this doesn't... You don't earn influence towards things. So it is really tough to know what the fuck they're trying to say here.
Yeah.
You earn influence and it sits in a big pile and then you spend it on... I think it maybe means a 50% discount on this action.
I think so too, yeah.
But you could also read it as points of influence spent toward the befriend independent action are 50% more valuable, which would equate to a 33% discount on the action.
Is that how that math works? I don't understand that, but I trust you.
It is, and it's much more in keeping with the way this is worded. I don't know. Let's take this one because I'd rather have the extra social policy slot afterward, I think. Yeah, probably. Okay, we'll try to get down there. Economic points, plus 10% gold for every alliance you have. I guess
So
I'm
how
just gonna put points into plus gold.
Okay.
I don't think the
How
other
do
ones are
you-
actually interesting there.
How do you feel about this process of the age transition where have to just stop playing the game, the normal flow of the game, to gain and allocate all these things, as opposed to a thing where you're gaining things over time and allocating them over time?
I don't know. You are to some extent gaining these over time because you do gain them from like certain researches or civics will give you a point. Certain wonder completions will give you a point. So it's not, you're misrepresenting it a little bit. It's just that you
Okay.
get a burst of these resources at the end of an age. But I do think like the trees are. So I was about to say, hey, gain plus 1 population when you start a town is actually really rad. That's a cool bonus, and it's one of the few bonuses that has felt like a cool bonus. 25% of food is refunded when the city grows by adding a specialist. Is like, it's good, but it's invisible. Like mostly I think these trees are quite boring. And that you could lift them out and the math underlying would change in a meaningful way, but you wouldn't notice them being lifted out, if that makes sense.
Okay, that makes sense.
And I really wish that they were splashier, especially given how relatively small they are. They have room for each thing to be more noticeable and feel more meaningful in the way that this will feel meaningful when you put down a new town. Overall, I don't like it. The answer to the question is I don't think it's a very good system. I don't think there's anything wrong with the shape of it. I think the stuff that's wrong with it is specifically the stuff that's written on the boxes. And that's, quite fixable. So yeah, okay. We've kind of gotten ourselves settled here. So I'm looking around at the new resources. Coffee is a factory resource. Quinine is a factory resource. So we care. Cotton is a factory resource. That makes sense. Rubber gives infantry and air units plus 1 combat strength. Okay. So the deal with our economic thing is we would build railroads. We would build rail stations. Make sure we have improved railroad factory stuff, factory resources, and then build factories, and the points will just build over time. That's kind of how the treasure fleets worked. Obviously, the thing about the treasure fleet is that once it spawned, it had to be run from one place to another, and in theory could be interfered with. Nobody ever did.
Hmm.
I settled the war with Tubman and Batuta long before the treasure fleet started spawning, and then nobody ever really had much interest in fighting again. I do think the AIs are maybe a little bit too passive. They kind of let you get away with a lot of shit. But yeah, I guess that's the idea. That's what I'll be going for. So I do think we've hit the hour here. I know we did not play a huge number of turns, but mostly what we wanted to see was that flipping point, right?
Yeah.
Um, so I'm going to go ahead and call the episode here. Is what I'm saying. That's
Okay.
going to be it for us for today. Thank you all so much for watching. When you come back next time, I don't know. What do you want to do here? Do you want to? How much of the gameplay of this era do you want to see? Do you want me to develop it a little bit first, and then we'll pull you back in once it's
Yeah.
sort of
I
coming
will
along?
say, yeah, develop it a little bit and then pull me back in, and I can get mad about the Jacobins.
Oh
And,
yeah.
and
Once I have the ability to produce Jacobins, we'll see. Okay,
see
so
what they do, and
yeah, we'll come back. We'll come back with a partially developed modern age. So come back next time for that, and we'll see you then.
this game.